As we get started, I would like you to think of a time when you made a bad decision and you knew you disappointed one of your parents. Now imagine if that person never forgave you and constantly brought it up to make you feel bad about yourself. How would you feel? How would that affect you as time went on? If they were constantly treating you like you were no better than your mistake, would you think change is possible? Would you think you have worth? Today we will be discussing how making mistakes does not make a person bad. They might make bad decisions, but that does not mean that they are terrible people. I have had many experiences with this, but one of the experiences that sticks out in my mind is about my brother. He did a lot of terrible things growing up. He did drugs, drank alcohol, chewed tobacco. He was sexually active and participated in several things that were not in line with my own personal beliefs or the church's standards. The way he was hurt me and everyone he came in contact with. So many people told me he was a lost cause, but I never gave up on him. I never gave up hope that one day he would change. It took us 12 years. But after a while of living the way he was, he crossed into the abyss where he had no other option but to pray. Things had gotten so bad in his life that he couldn't see a way out. And he was scared. In his mind, praying was the only option. And so he did it. And that was the beginning of his road to change, to a better life. It took some time, of course, but eventually he stopped all the things he had been involved in. He stopped drinking, he stopped doing drugs, he stopped doing pretty much everything, and eventually he came back to the church. 2 years later, he had made the changes necessary for him to go through the temple and to be sealed to his wife. Today, this is what we will be discussing. We will be discussing how people may make mistakes in their life, but that does not make them a bad person. We will also be discussing how people want to find a way out of their mistakes, but a lot of the time others aren't letting them. We will also be discussing the importance of seeing the potential in these people, because if we can't see their potential, then there's nothing we can do to help them. The first point I mentioned is that some people may make bad decisions, but that does not make them a bad person. Emma Freud gave a conference and said, quote, "The truth is that we all try to make the best decisions possible using the information available at the time, and we all mess up, but it doesn't help the pain to point that out." End quote. With that quote, there are several things that come to mind. We need to realize that the people doing bad things don't always realize their mistakes are that don't always realize that they are making mistakes, and they don't always understand that what they're doing is wrong. A lot of the time they are doing the best they can with what they have been given. They were forced into an environmental situation that was rough. And from the situations they found themselves in, they just couldn't handle it, and so they did what those situations kind of forced them into, which in some of our eyes would be wrong. Because of this, it is important to remember that we need to help them realize what is right and what is wrong and teach them how to discern it for themselves. The second point is that people are often looking for a way out of their mistakes, but no one is willing to let them. A lot of people are constantly judging others and constantly putting others down for things that could have happened yesterday or things that could have happened years ago. There are tons of people in this world who are so focused on one tiny mistake that happened so long ago that it doesn't allow for any growth in themselves or in the person that made the mistake. This can cause a problem because if someone is constantly hearing about the things they've done wrong, then they start to think that they are their mistakes. Instead of focusing on the person they have the potential to be, they begin to focus on their mistakes. This makes it difficult for them to separate the mistakes from themselves, and those mistakes become their identity. It's important to remember that we need to be kind to them, and if we give them the tools that they need to realize that their mistakes are not who they are. Albert Einstein once said, quote, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We need something different. We need hope. We need someone who is willing to look outside of our problems and mistakes to guide us and give us information that is different and can help us to move forward." Now, the third point is, in order to help these people, we need to see their potential. President Thomas S. Monson of the church actually gave a talk about this a few years ago in conference. In this talk, he discusses the importance of seeing those around us with the potential they have. Without that perspective, how else are we supposed to see past those mistakes and help them see what they are capable of becoming? One quote that I love from this talk is, quote, "We have the responsibility to see individuals not as they are, but rather as they can become. I would plead with you to think of them in this way," end quote. When we see someone who makes mistakes, instead of focusing on what they've done wrong, we need to see their potential and how they are able to grow. Before we end today, I would like to share some thoughts on these two pictures. One of them has a man with a bag over his head, as if he is ashamed. The second has a person with his body turned toward the world, toward nature, where he can see the beauty all around him. It's almost as if to say that he has the whole world at his fingertips. On the second picture, there is a quote that says, quote, "See potential, see beyond someone's past," end quote. If we are constantly looking at people and only seeing the mistakes they have made, we are making them feel like the person in the first photo, ashamed, hurt, surrounded by darkness, and like they don't even matter. But if we are looking at their potential, we are looking at them like they are free, that they have the entire world open to them, and like there is no limitations to their growth. I challenge you today to stop being judgmental. Start looking at people like they are in the second photograph. Have faith in humanity and their ability to become better, because it is possible. Just like it was possible for my brother, it's possible for anybody else. When people do terrible things, it does not make them a bad person. It just means they made a mistake. But they can always choose to become better. They can always choose to change. As long as we are willing to accept them for who they are and who they have the potential to be, anything is possible. Thank you.